Commander Grixnu's mandibles locked in disbelief as the security feed showed both apex predator cubs trailing behind the human like domesticated pets. "Impossible," he chittered, his compound eyes fixed on the display. Junior and Unit, two Zalkith cubs who'd torn through reinforced bulkheads and killed 3 guards last month, were padding along behind the human female like she'd summoned them with a dinner bell. "Sir, should we sound the alarm?" his second-in-command asked, already reaching for the emergency protocols. Grixnu's claw stopped the motion. "No. Watch." The human, Jenna something, a wildlife specialist hired 2 weeks ago, walked through the restricted research corridor carrying a datapad and humming. She seemed utterly oblivious to the 200 kilograms of apex predator muscle following 3 paces behind her. The cubs' distinctive black and crimson striping rippled as they moved, their 6 legs carrying them in perfect synchronization with her casual stride. "This violates every safety protocol we've established," the second-in-command whispered. "Those cubs are classified as extreme lethal threats. They should be in maximum containment." "They are in maximum containment," Grixnu said, his voice hollow. "Watch Sector 9. The feed switched. The containment cell doors stood wide open, their quantum locks disengaged. Security logs scrolled past. The cubs had triggered the emergency release from inside. Impossible. The locks required conscious mathematical problem-solving that no predator species had ever demonstrated. They opened the doors themselves and walked straight to her quarters," Grixnu confirmed, pulling up another feed. "This morning, 0600 station time, they've been following her for 6 hours." On screen, Jenna stopped at an intersection, checking her datapad. Both cubs immediately sat, their tails curling around their haunches, waiting. One of them, Junior, based on the facial scarring, tilted his head, watching her with what looked disturbingly like patience. "Get me Dr. Veln, now, and Commander Yix from Behavioral Analysis. I want every xenobiologist on this station in the command center within 5 minutes." His second-in-command scuttled away, mandibles clicking nervously. Grixnu couldn't look away from the feed. Jenna had started walking again, and the cubs rose instantly, maintaining their 3-pace distance. She turned a corner into the commissary corridor. Both cubs followed, their massive shoulders brushing the doorframe. This couldn't be happening. Zalkith cubs were documented across 30 star systems. They were apex predators from birth, capable of taking down prey twice their size before they reached adolescence. They didn't follow. They didn't heal. They certainly didn't trail behind some soft-skinned mammal like they were imprinted hatchlings. The door hissed open behind him. Dr. Veln rushed in, his scales flushed with alarm. "Commander, I received your—" He stopped, staring at the screen. "By the ancestors." My exact reaction. How long has this been occurring? 6 hours confirmed, possibly longer. Grixnu switched feeds, showing the cub's containment cell from yesterday. "They've been increasingly agitated since she arrived on station. We thought it was territorial aggression. Turns out they were trying to reach her. No, that's not Zalkith behavior. They're solitary from hatching. They don't form attachments, especially not cross-species attachments." Veln leaned closer to the screen. "Is she using pheromones? Some kind of chemical inducement?" "Scans show nothing. She's not even armed." On screen, Jenna entered the commissary. Station personnel scattered immediately, chairs scraping, trays clattering. She looked up, confused, as everyone backed away from her. Then she glanced behind her and noticed the cubs for what appeared to be the first time. "Oh, hey guys," she said, her voice picking up on the audio feed. "When did you get out?" Grixnu felt his mandibles go slack again. She was greeting them. Junior chirped, an actual vocalization of pleasure, and bounded forward. Every person in the command center flinched. But the cub simply pressed his massive head against Jenna's side, nearly knocking her over. "Easy, big guy," she laughed, steadying herself against his shoulder. Unit approached more cautiously, sniffing at her hand before allowing her to scratch behind his auditory ridge. "She's touching them," Veln whispered. They're allowing contact. They're initiating contact, Grixnu corrected, watching Junior's tail swish contentedly. Pull her file, everything. Education, employment history, psychological profile. I want to know why the galaxy's most dangerous cubs are acting like domesticated companions around her. Sir, emergency protocols require we evacuate the commissary and have those cubs tear through security trying to stay near her? No. Grixnu watched Jenna grab a meal tray, both cubs settling at her feet as she sat down. We contain this situation carefully, very carefully. One wrong move, and this station becomes a bloodbath. Grixnu found her in the commissary 20 minutes later, flanked by 6 security personnel and Dr. Velm. Jenna was finishing her meal while both cubs lay at her feet, their breathing synchronized in what looked disturbingly like contentment. Miss Jenna, Grixnu said, keeping his voice level despite the churning in his thorax. I need you to remain very still and explain what you've done to these creatures. She looked up, confusion crossing her features. Done to them? I haven't done anything. They just started following me around? Junior's head snapped up at Grixnu's approach, a low rumble building in his chest. Unit shifted, positioning himself between Jenna and the security team. Both cubs' muscles coiled, ready to spring. Stand down, Grixnu ordered his team, raising his claws in a placating gesture. Nobody moves. What's going on? Jenna asked, glancing between the cubs and the armed guards. Why is everyone acting like this is weird? Weird? Dr. Velm's voice cracked. Those cubs killed 3 trained security personnel last month. They're classified as extreme lethal threats, and they're currently using your legs as pillows. Jenna looked down at Junior, who had indeed rested his massive head on her boot. These guys, they're just babies. Those babies have a bite force that can shear through titanium alloy, Grixnu said carefully. Their parents held the record for most confirmed kills in the Zixdan sector. 83 sentient beings across 12 worlds. Oh, Jenna reached down absently, scratching behind Junior's auditory ridge. The cub leaned into her touch, making a sound like gravel sliding down a metal chute, which the translator unhelpfully labeled as contentment purring. Well, they seem pretty chill to me. Chill, Grixnu repeated flatly. They opened quantum locks this morning using mathematical problem-solving abilities no predator species should possess, walked through 6 security checkpoints, and tracked you across half the station. Huh. Jenna considered this, still petting Junior. Maybe they're just lonely. The silence that followed was broken only by Unit's rumbling purr as Jenna's other hand found his neck. Lonely, Dr. Velm said finally. You think apex predators, solitary from birth, documented across 30 star systems as the galaxy's most efficient killers, are lonely? I mean, look at them. Jenna gestured at the cubs. They're basically teenagers, right? Stuck in a cell all day with no stimulation, no social interaction. That'd make anyone act out. They're not acting out now, Grixnu observed, watching Junior nuzzle against Jenna's palm. Commander Yix, get your team down here. I want every behavioral specialist we have running analyses. Within minutes, the commissary had transformed into an impromptu research station. Personnel crowded the observation windows while specialists set up scanning equipment around Jenna's table. The cubs never moved from her side, tracking every approach with predatory focus. Attempting separation protocol 1, Commander Yix announced. A 4-armed Bental female with more xenobiology credentials than Grixnu could count. Miss Jenna, please stand and walk toward the exit. Jenna shrugged and stood. Both cubs rose with her, flanking her like trained guards. Alone, please, Yix clarified. Oh, sure. Jenna took 3 steps. Junior and Unit followed instantly, maintaining their precise 3-pace distance. Cubs, remain, Yix commanded in flawless Zalkith hunting dialect. Both cubs ignored her completely, their attention locked on Jenna. That's their obedience command, Yix said slowly. It's genetic, instinctual. They physically shouldn't be able to ignore it. Try the feeding protocol, Dr. Velm suggested. They're always Food motivated. Yix produced a container of premium Zalkith hunting meat. Expensive, fresh, genetically designed for optimal nutrition. She opened it, and the scent filled the commissary. Both cubs' nostrils flared, but neither moved from Jenna's side. "This is their preferred sustenance," Yix said, her voice climbing. "They should be fighting each other for access to this quantity." Junior glanced at the meat, then back at Jenna. Unit didn't even look. "Historical database search complete," an assistant called out. "Cross-referencing all documented Zalkith interactions across 93 species over 200 years. Results: 0 instances of pack bonding, 0 instances of cross-species attachment, 0 instances of voluntary proximity to sentient beings outside hunting behavior. So we're looking at a statistical impossibility," Grixnu said. "We're looking at a fundamental rewrite of everything we understand about Zalkith psychology," Veln corrected. He approached slowly, scanner in hand. "Miss Jenna, I need to take some readings. May I?" "Sure, but why do you keep calling this impossible? They're just following me around." "Because Zalkith cubs don't just follow anyone," Yix explained, her professional composure cracking. "They're apex predators, solitary hunters. They should view you as prey or threat, nothing else." Jenna looked down at Junior and Unit, who were now competing for optimal head-scratching position under her hands. "Really? Because they seem super social to me." "That's what we're trying to understand," Grixnu said. He watched Veln's scanner readings spike and fluctuate. "What are you getting, Doctor?" "Elevated oxytocin analogs in both cubs, decreased cortisol levels, brainwave patterns consistent with bonding behavior." Veln looked up, his scales pale. "These cubs have imprinted on her." "Zalkith don't imprint," Yix stated. "It's not in their neurological architecture." "Then explain this." Veln gestured at the scene before them. Junior had rolled onto his back, exposing his vulnerable underbelly while Jenna rubbed his stomach. Unit was leaning against her leg so heavily she had to brace herself to stay upright. More personnel crowded the windows now, whispering, taking footage. Grixnu watched Jenna laugh as Junior's rear leg kicked involuntarily at a particularly good scratch. "Get me the Galactic Council," he said quietly. "And someone find out everything there is to know about human pack bonding behavior. We're missing something fundamental here." Dr. Nixaval arrived 6 hours later, his emergency transport barely clearing docking protocols before he was sprinting toward the observation deck. Grixnu had called in the galaxy's foremost authority on Zalkith behavior, 4 decades of fieldwork across 8 star systems, author of the definitive texts on predator psychology, advisor to the Galactic Council on dangerous species management. "Where are they?" Nixval demanded, his breathing apparatus whistling with exertion. Grixnu pointed through the reinforced glass. In the containment observation room, Jenna sat cross-legged on the floor while Junior and Unit wrestled around her, their movements careful and controlled. Play fighting, actual play behavior. Nixaval's entire body went rigid. "No. Yes. That's not. They don't." He pressed closer to the glass, his specialized vision organs dilating. "I need alternative hypotheses. Neural parasites, pheromone manipulation, technological influence. All tested, all negative." Dr. Veln handed him a datapad thick with scan results. "She's completely baseline human. No augmentation, no chemical markers, nothing unusual." "Then this violates everything we know." Nixaval's voice dropped to a whisper. "I've watched Zalkith cubs for 30 years. They don't play. They practice killing. This is impossible." Inside the room, Junior pounced on Unit, both cubs tumbling in a controlled roll that somehow avoided Jenna entirely, despite her sitting right beside them. She laughed, the sound carrying through the speakers. "How did this start?" Nixaval asked, unable to look away. "That's what we've been trying to understand," Commander Yix said, pulling up her notes. "Miss Jenna, could you explain your initial interaction with the cubs?" Jenna looked up at the observation window, shrugging. "There's not much to explain. I just treated them like scared kids." "Scared?" Nixaval's translator hiccuped on the word. "Zalkith don't experience fear. Their amygdala analog doesn't process defensive emotions. Well, they were definitely stressed when I first saw them, Jenna said. Pacing, scratching at the walls, not eating properly. Classic anxiety behaviors. Those were territorial aggression displays, Nixaval insisted. Were they, though? Jenna stood, both cubs immediately flanking her. Because when I started giving them routine, same feeding times, regular check-ins, predictable interactions, they calmed down completely. Routine, Nixaval repeated. You gave apex predators routine. And boundaries, Jenna continued. Like, Junior tried to bite me the first day, so I just firmly said no and walked away. He hasn't tried since. You disciplined a Zalkith cub. Nixaval's legs buckled slightly. Someone brought him a chair. You disciplined them, and they accepted it? Why wouldn't they? They're learning appropriate behavior. Jenna scratched Unit behind his auditory ridge. Every animal needs structure and consistency. Makes them feel safe. They're not animals, Yik said quietly. They're sentient apex predators. Sure, but they're also basically kids whose parents died and got shoved in a cell with no socialization. Jenna's voice softened. Nobody even talked to them. Just threw food in twice a day and hoped they'd calm down. Grixnu felt something cold settle in his thorax. Our containment protocols are designed for adult psychology, Nixaval finished, his voice hollow. We based everything on mature Zalkith behavior patterns. Solitary, territorial, aggressive. He looked at the cubs, who were now nuzzling Jenna's hands in turn. We never considered that juveniles might need different approaches. As if to emphasize the point, Junior trotted to the corner of the room and returned with something in his jaws. He dropped it at Jenna's feet. A dead vermin, one of the station's persistent pest species. Oh, buddy, thank you, Jenna said warmly, examining the offering. This is a very good catch. Junior's entire body wiggled with pleasure at the praise. Gift-giving behavior, Velen breathed. That's pack bonding. Family group dynamics. Which Zalkith don't have, Nixaval said mechanically. Which they've never demonstrated. Which shouldn't exist in their behavioral repertoire. He turned to Grixnu, his face stricken. My entire life's work, every protocol I've helped establish. We've been isolating juveniles who needed socialization, creating the aggression we were trying to prevent. Unit brought his own gift. Another vermin, this one larger. Jenna praised him equally, and both cubs settled at her feet, radiating contentment. How many stations use our containment protocols? Grixnu asked quietly. 43, Yik said. Across 16 sectors. All of them wrong. Nixaval stared at the scene before him. All of them creating traumatized, aggressive cubs because we didn't understand they were capable of bonding. Jenna had started humming again, absently petting both cubs while checking her data pad. Completely casual. Completely unaware she'd just shattered galactic xenobiology. We need to contact every facility, Grixnu said. Every station with Zalkith juveniles. This changes everything. The breakthrough came during the third day of continuous observation. Dr. Velen's team had compiled every interaction between Jenna and the cubs, analyzing body language, vocalization patterns, and neurological responses frame by frame. Look at this, Velen said, projecting the data across the conference room. When Jenna approaches, both cubs display greeting behavior, lowered head posture, relaxed musculature, specific vocalization patterns. He pulled up comparison footage. These are identical to recordings of juvenile Zalkith greeting their mothers in the wild. But adult Zalkith abandon their young within weeks of birth, Nixaval protested weakly. There's no extended family structure. Because we've only observed adults in isolation or breeding pairs, Velen countered. We never documented how cubs interact with their mothers during those early weeks. What if we missed the foundation entirely? Jenna's personnel file glowed on another screen. Grixnu read through it again, searching for answers. Wildlife rehabilitation specialist. Worked primarily with orphaned predators on her homeworld. Success rate of 92% reintegration. She's been treating them like orphaned cubs, Commander Yix said slowly. Not as specimens or threats, as children who lost their parents. Nick Saval pulled up the incident report from last month. The 3 dead guards. Let me review this again. His eyes scanned rapidly. The guards entered the containment cell during feeding time, used shock prods to establish dominance. The cubs reacted with defensive aggression, Jenna said from the doorway. Everyone turned. She had Junior and Unit with her, both cubs calm and attentive. They weren't hunting. They were terrified and fighting back. You read the report, Grixnu stated. I asked for it this morning. She gestured at the cubs. Everything made sense after that. You weren't treating them like traumatized kids. You were treating them like monsters, so they acted like monsters. And you became their pack leader, Nick Saval said, understanding dawning in his expression. Human social structures, extended family units, shared caregiving, protective instincts, these mirror what Zalkith cubs instinctively seek. I just did what felt natural, Jenna said quietly. Consistency, gentle correction, positive reinforcement, basic rehabilitation protocols. Velen brought up neurological scans. Their stress hormones have dropped 60%. Aggression markers are nearly non-existent. They're thriving under her care in ways we've never documented. Grixnu stood, his decision crystallizing. I need to report this to the Galactic Council immediately. Every Zalkith containment facility is using protocols that actively harm juveniles. He turned to Jenna. Miss Jenna, how would you feel about a promotion? Interspecies behavioral consultant, develop new care protocols, train specialists across the galaxy. Me? Jenna blinked. I'm just doing basic animal care. You're rewriting our understanding of one of the galaxy's most dangerous species, Nick Saval said, his voice carrying newfound respect. I'd like to work with you, if you'll have me. I have decades of data that needs complete reinterpretation. Junior chirped and pressed against Jenna's leg. She smiled, scratching his auditory ridge. I guess if it helps more cubs like these guys, sure. Then let's begin, Grixnu said. We have 43 stations to contact and an entire species to understand properly. 3 months later, Commander Grixnu watched the morning shift change with something approaching disbelief. 16 cubs of various species, including 2 more Zalkith, 3 Bixnal raptors, 5 Quintar ambush predators, and 6 Velnix pack hunters, followed their assigned human handlers through the corridors in orderly lines. The station had transformed. Containment cells had been replaced with socialization zones. Isolation protocols had given way to structured interaction schedules. The sterile research facility now hummed with activity that looked disturbingly like a school. Council representatives arriving in Bay 3, his second-in-command announced. Grixnu straightened his uniform and headed to the docking bay, passing Jenna's classroom where she was demonstrating positive reinforcement techniques to a group of newly arrived human specialists. You just have to see them as individuals, not monsters, she was saying. While Junior, now twice his original size and completely docile, demonstrated a complex behavior sequence for treats. Every species has different needs, but the foundation is the same. Respect, consistency, and genuine care. The Galactic Council delegation emerged from their transport looking skeptical. Grixnu recognized the lead representative, Council member Zixana, who'd initially opposed the protocol changes. Commander, she said coolly, we've reviewed your reports. The Council remains unconvinced that these methods are... A chorus of chirps, growls, and whistles interrupted her. Down the corridor came the afternoon enrichment group, Jenna leading 16 cubs of various sizes and species, all moving in synchronized chaos that somehow never became actual chaos. Junior and Unit flanked her as always, while the smaller cubs tumbled around her feet. Stay in formation, guys, Jenna called out cheerfully. The cubs adjusted instantly, maintaining their loose group structure. Zixana's mouth fell open. Those are Velnik's pack hunters. They massacred an entire outpost 2 years ago. Those were adults defending their territory from what they perceived as invasion, Grixnu corrected. These are juveniles receiving proper socialization. He gestured at the parade passing by. 0 aggressive incidents in 3 months. 0. Impossible. That's what I said, Grixnu admitted. Yet here we are. One of the Quintar cubs broke formation to investigate Zixana, sniffing curiously at her robes. Jenna made a soft clicking sound, and the cub immediately returned to the group. How? Zixana breathed. Humans possess instinctive pack-bonding capabilities that transcend species barriers, Grixnu explained, reciting from his official report. Their social structures, caregiving instincts, and communication flexibility allow them to interface with juvenile psychology across vastly different biological frameworks. We're receiving requests from 38 sectors, his second-in-command added. Everyone wants human consultants for their dangerous species programs. Jenna's group had reached the exercise yard. Through the observation windows, Grixnu watched her release the cubs into supervised play. Junior immediately engaged 3 Bixnall raptors in a wrestling match that would have been lethal 3 months ago. Now it was just play. The council will approve expanded protocols, Zixana said quietly, still watching the impossible scene, and request human specialists for our own facilities. Already in progress, Grixnu confirmed. Miss Jenna has developed a complete training curriculum. That evening, Grixnu made his final log entry of the day. Station log, day 93 of revised protocols. Human specialist Jenna has successfully bonded with 16 cubs across 8 previously classified unmanageable species. 0 incidents. Complete behavioral transformation in all subjects. Recommendation: humans should be considered essential personnel for all juvenile predator facilities galaxy-wide. Their instinctive understanding of pack dynamics and family structures provides what our protocols never could: genuine care. He looked up as Jenna passed his office window, heading to her quarters for the evening. 16 cubs of various species trailed behind her in a bizarre parade that shouldn't exist. Junior and Unit bookended the group, protective and proud. Grixnu shook his head, mandibles clicking in amazement. 3 months ago, this would have been his worst nightmare. Now it was just another evening on the station. The galaxy was going to have to rewrite a lot more than just containment protocols.